The shackles dug into Alara's wrists as the aliens dragged her across the stone floor. Their guttural voices echoed through the cavern, mocking her fragility, mocking her species. Another human.
Weak. Soft.
She won't last a heartbeat. One sneered, its mandibles clicking with delight. Alara stumbled but refused to fall. She had already seen what these creatures did to those who begged. The Zorkai Empire conquered by cruelty, breaking the spirit before breaking the body. She would give them neither. The guard stopped before a colossal gate forged from dark metal. Heat radiated from the cracks between the panels, waves of shimmering air rising. The guards shoved her forward, laughing. "Throw her in," the leader growled. The gate opened with a groan, and the heat hit her like a living storm. Beyond the threshold lay a cavern filled with glowing magma, the air thick with the smell of brimstone and ash. Perched upon a jagged throne of blackened rock was a nightmare made flesh, scales the color of blood, wings like torn banners, and eyes burning brighter than any star. The red dragon. Its gaze locked on Alara instantly. The aliens unchained her and shoved her into the chamber before slamming the gates behind her. Human sacrifice. One of them shouted through the crack before the gates sealed with a thunderous boom. Silence. Only the hiss of molten rivers and the sound of her ragged breathing remained. The dragon leaned forward, its shadow swallowing her whole. Its breath washed over her like a furnace, hot enough to blister stone. Alara's heart hammered, but she didn't flinch. If this was death, she would meet it standing. "You are not like the others," the dragon rumbled, its voice so deep it shook her bones. They screamed. They begged. "You accept." Alara raised her chin. "If you're going to kill me, then do it. But I won't beg for my life."
Not to them.
Not to you. A rumble that might have been laughter or hunger shook the cavern. "You think death is yours to choose?" The dragon's eyes narrowed. "Tell me, human, why should I not burn you to ash where you stand?" For a moment, fear threatened to crack her composure. But then she remembered Earth, burned and enslaved by the Zorkai. She remembered the faces of those who had trusted her, those she could not save. "You can kill me," she said, voice steady. "But if you do, the aliens win. That's why they threw me here. They fear you. They want to feed you scraps, to keep you docile. You're their prisoner, just like me." The dragon's eyes widened slightly, molten light flickering in their depths. "No one dares speak to me so," it murmured. Alara took a step closer despite the heat. "Then maybe it's time someone did." For a long while, the cavern was silent except for the bubbling of magma. Then the dragon's laughter erupted, a sound like mountains breaking. "Human," it said at last, "you are bold, perhaps foolish. But I see fire in you, a fire that mirrors my own." It lowered its massive head until its snout was inches from her. "Tell me, what do you want?" Alara's throat was dry, but her answer was firm. "Freedom. For me. For you. For everyone crushed under the Zorkai." The dragon's eyes gleamed. The bargain. Days turned to nights, though the cavern knew no true cycle of time. Alara and the dragon spoke often. Its name, she learned, was Vadran, last of the Crimson WIRMS, bound to this volcanic prison after it defied the Zorkai. They had starved him, tortured him, forced him into submission by threatening to extinguish the eggs of his kind. Those eggs were long destroyed, yet still the aliens kept him caged, fearful of his wrath. Alara listened, and in turn she spoke of humanity, of Earth's skies, oceans, and resilience. She told him of laughter and sorrow, of sacrifice and survival. Where the Zorkai saw humans as weak, she showed Vadran the truth. Humanity's strength lay not in claws or fire, but in spirit. One night, as molten rivers glowed beneath them, Vadran lowered his head beside her. "You remind me of flame," he said softly. "Small, yet it endures, even against storms." Alara touched his scaled snout with her hand, the heat almost unbearable. "And you remind me of the sky, boundless, waiting to be free again." In that moment, something ancient stirred between them. Not fear, not dominance, but recognition. The rebellion. The aliens returned weeks later, expecting to find charred bones. Instead, they found Alara standing beside Vadran, her hand resting on his snout as if he were an ally, not a monster. "Kill her," the leader shrieked, raising his plasma spear. But Vadran's roar shook the mountain. Fire erupted, molten and merciless. The alien screamed as the red dragon broke free from his chains, snapping steel like twigs. Alara climbed onto his back, gripping the ridge of his scales. For the first time in centuries, Vadran spread his wings and leapt into the burning sky. The Zorkai fortresses trembled as dragon fire rained upon them. Alara guided him with words, her human instincts steering his fury toward precision. Where his fire could not reach, her cunning found weaknesses. Together, they became a storm the aliens could not contain. The galaxy whispered of it, a human girl and the last red dragon, laying waste to the conquerors who had enslaved billions.
The choice.
Months of war passed. The rebellion spread like wildfire. Humans, once broken, rose again. Other enslaved species rallied at the sight of the dragon and the girl who rode him. Yet victory brought a question neither had faced before. "Your people need you," Vadran said one night, as they rested on the ruins of a fallen fortress. "You should lead them." "And you?" she asked. "I am fire. Fire consumes. I am not meant to rule." Alara looked into his burning eyes, her heart heavy. She had come to see him not just as an ally, but as something more, something she dared not name. "You're wrong," she whispered. "You're not just fire. You're the hope they said couldn't exist." For the first time, the mighty dragon fell silent. And for the first time, Alara allowed herself to lean against him, accepting not just his power, but his presence. Epilogue. Years later, songs spread across liberated worlds of the girl who was thrown to the deadliest dragon, and instead of dying, she accepted him. Together, they ignited a rebellion that reshaped the stars. Wherever his shadow passed, the oppressed rose. Wherever her voice carried, the broken stood tall. The Zorkai Empire crumbled, not because of armies or fleets, but because a single human girl dared to see a dragon not as a beast, but as a being worth believing in. And the galaxy learned an ancient truth, carried on fire and flame.